Magic the Gathering is a player versus player collectible card game with a deep fantasy setting, and it is one of the most complex and popular games in the world, with over 35 million players worldwide across both digital and physical game platforms, with a large variety of play formats. With so many rules and available cards and game modes, learning the very basics of Magic can become quite a hefty task. This beginner basics guide is to help you get started on your journey to becoming a master of Magic the Gathering. To get started, you need a starting deck. Digital games always give you a basic deck to start with, and you can get starting packs at specialized stores for cheap. Some stores even give them for free. How's that? Now that you have a deck, let's go over how to read your cards and the different cards there are. To start with, cards can be classified in two groups, permanent and non-permanent, and there are several types within each. Permanent cards stay on the board once they're cast and perform a variety of functions, while non-permanents come in two flavors, sorcery and instant, and both perform a single action and are removed from the board once they have done their thing. Let's look at a type of permanent card to learn what is what on a magic card. Starting from the top, there are the card's name and mana cost. Shivan Dragon here is a 4 mana 2 red cost card. The 4 mana marked with this grey icon means that it can be paid with any type of mana, and the 2 reds mean it needs a certain amount of a specific mana color to cast, in this case 2 red mana. In total, it would take 6 mana to summon the Shivan Dragon. Next is the card's illustration, and below it is the card's type line and set symbol. The type line tells you first what kind of card you are looking at, this one being a creature card, and next to it is the further specification on what kind of creature it is, this being a dragon. Card's set symbol tells you what set the card is from, and the color of the symbol tells its rarity. Shivan Dragon is from Historic Horizons collection, and the gold symbol indicates that it is a rare card. Cards come in 4 rarities: common black, uncommon silver, rare gold, and mythical rare red. The lower half of the card is its text box, and it tells you everything you need to know about the card's rules. For Shivan Dragon, it includes a common keyword, flying, which means this creature can't be blocked except by creatures with either flying or rage keywords. Below that, it tells us that Shivan Dragon has a special ability. By using 1 red mana, this card can gain 1 extra attack power until end of turn. Finally, the creature's power and toughness is shown on the bottom right corner. The left number shows how much damage it will do when attacking, and right shows how much damage it can take before it is killed. Next, we'll look at the most common card types you'll likely encounter and what they do. Beginning with lands. Lands are the most important card type, hence why most game modes don't restrict how many you can have of them in your deck. Lands are a type of permanent card that can only be removed by special card effects. Lands provide you with mana. Each land you control on the board gives you 1 mana of its specified color unless told otherwise. Lands are needed for everything from spells and enchantments to creatures and creature abilities. Speaking of, creatures are your bread and butter. A game of Magic is won by reducing your opponent's HP to 0, and creatures are your best way of attacking. Stronger creatures can get the job done faster, but cost a lot of mana, while smaller creatures are weak, but are generally really cheap, allowing you to overwhelm your opponent. Enchantments are a type of spell that generally add a single rule to the game, and auras are a common enchantment subtype that attach directly to a creature on the board. Artifacts are often colorless, meaning they can be a part of any deck, and they often come with a single activated ability. Planeswalker cards represent an ally in battle, and include some of the most brokenly overpowerful cards in the game. Now, with knowledge of the cards in the game, let's talk about the rules. Magic has a lot of rules. So many, in fact, that professional players tend to forget most of them. But for a casual player wanting to play kitchen top Magic, the most basic rules of the game are enough. The first rule when starting a game of Magic is that each player has to have a similarly sized deck, referred to as a library, and that each player starts with the 7 cards and the game maximum of 20 health points. Players alternate turns and are allowed to perform as many actions on their turn as their cards and resources allow. The only limit to this is that each player is only allowed to play 1 land a turn. Turning a card sideways, referred to as tapping, exhausts the card for the remainder of that turn. Creatures tap when they attack, and most activated abilities require tapping the card. However, creature cards can't be used to attack on the same turn that they are summoned. Cards untap at the beginning of your turn during the untap step. Phases and steps define each turn's flow. In general, you begin your turn by untapping and drawing a card. Then you get a main phase that takes up bulk of your actions. Here you can play any cards your resources allow. You can attack once during the combat phase, then move to a second main phase to wrap up your turn. You can respond to your opponent's actions at any point by activating an ability or using an instant spell, as long as you have the mana. Just because it's your opponent's turn doesn't mean you can't foil their plans. And lastly, if a card tells you to break a rule, break it. And with that, you know all the basics. Of course, there is so much more to learn about Magic. With its numerous game modes and even larger number of cards, the learning curve never ends. I hope you enjoyed this beginner's guide. If you did, leave a like and a comment if this helped you get started. This has been Miguel, and thank you for watching.